Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom. Not categorically considered a horror film, but when we examine the more grisly details, it becomes clear that horror is what drives this spine-chilling masterpiece. Tonight, on Watch It in the Dark. Both Steven Spielberg and George Lucas both admitted that during the making of this film, they were in very dark places personally. When filming the second installment of this swashbuckling franchise. So much so that when they viewed the final product, they realized that they have pushed the boundaries of extremity. Temple of Doom was released in 1984 with a rating of PG. There was such a backlash from viewers, specifically the parents, about the overtly disturbing nature of the film. It was Spielberg himself that recommended to the film industry to give future films of a more mature nature a PG-13 rating. When criticized for the film being so dark and brutal, Spielberg said himself, "This movie is called The Temple of Doom, not the Temple of Roses." As a child of 8 or 9, I saw Temple of Doom in the theater multiple times. It had a profound effect on my imagination. Even so, to this day, I still filter my dreams through the lens of Indiana Jones. Here's a section from a poem I wrote entitled The Death of I, which speaks about Indiana Jones. America has forgotten the true, natural, patriotic beauty of Indiana Jones. That overworked fedora, his handsome honoring of women, that worldly rebel black jacket, freed enslaved children, and, of course, whipped Nazis to death. Now, let's break down the scenes and elements that make Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom an American horror classic. As soon as Indy and his heroine, Willie Scott, along with his trusting sidekick, Short Round, drop from the sky after a harrowing plane crash into India, darkness and dread immediately permeates. We witness a skeletized village, dreary and famished, where all the children have been kidnapped. And an ancient stone of supernatural power, which gives life to the land, has been stolen. As Indy sets off to find the children and the stone, he enters a whole new world of terror. A spooky castle swarming with vampire bats. A grotesque dinner scene featuring chilled monkey brains served out of the top of a severed head. There are assassins appearing from secret corridors. Death chambers caked with monstrous insects. Spikes decorated in human skull. This all leads to the heart of the horror. The sinister Thuggee, a quasi-satanic cult worshipping the Hindu goddess Kali Ma. Kali Ma Shakti De, who rip the beating hearts out of their victims with their bare hands and sacrifice them to a pit of lava. The chant of the cult, in literal translation in Hindi, and I quote, "Kill, kill the pig, flay his skin, drink his blood." At this point, the whole film is wrapped in a color palette of shadow and hellfire red, and it never lets up on its frightful relentlessness. Our hero is forced to drink a brainwashing blood concoction that puts him in a torturous and terrifying transformation of evil. Quite possibly Indy's darkest moment on screen. By the time the movie reaches its bruised and battered climax, Indy has of course saved the children and found the stone, but not before the gory death toll rises all around him. Thuggy being ripped apart by alligators, plummeting deaths from a bridge into rocky cliffs, mine shaft cart crashes, splattered body in a circular industrial grinder. During this Halloween holiday season, why not give Temple of Doom another viewing? And you may come to find that it sits very comfortably next to the rest of your horror films. But before you do, remember to watch it in the dark. Trying to make it like creepy. Is that fun, man?